I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey AfterBuzzers! Welcome to another edition of Quarantine with the Stars. I'm your host, Chelsea Overrocker, and today we have Cindy Busby. Hi, Sydney.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. I know I complimented you already, but I love the background. Looks fabulous.
Thank you. Nothing like a good pink wallpaper to make your day better.
Exactly. I'm a fan of it. Hallmarkies, you probably recognize Cindy from Unleashing Mr. Darcy, Marrying Mr. Darcy, When Called the Heart, and now she has a new movie that'll be premiering June 13th, Love in the Forecast, which I got to preview, and it's one of my favorites, so I cannot wait to get into it and talk to it about you.
Amazing.
No, I'm a huge fan of you. You've been in a lot of Hallmark movies, so this is such an honor to be able to talk to you about Hallmark. It's the best thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a fun one, that's for sure. Lots to talk about.
Absolutely. But before we get into it, I just want to ask, how are you doing during quarantine, during this uncertain time?
Right. Yeah. I guess that's kind of the question everyone seems to ask each other, you know?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually doing really well. I have taken this opportunity to just really reflect and do a lot of self work, and I do a lot of home renovations and
Yeah.
take this opportunity. I think there's always light within darkness and everything, and I'm a very spiritual person, so this has really
Mhm.
allowed me to kind of exercise the skills and the tools that I've acquired over the years to, it's easy to kind of live in fear and live in doubt and
Mhm.
in uncertain times, but it's also a choice to kind of live in the moment and surrender to what's going on and know that everything is happening in our favor, and so that's how I choose to see it. I definitely miss hugging people. Being a French Canadian, I'm like, I want to touch people. I want to hug my friends. I want to,
Yes.
that's the kind of stuff that I really, really miss is human interaction, especially as an actor too. Like that's what we love is human connection, human story. And so, I feel really blessed that I was able to do this movie, Love in the Forecast, right before all of this went down.
Yeah.
What a way to go out with a bang, to do an amazing Hallmark movie and have it air during this time too, to kind of liven everyone's
Absolutely.
spirits. So I feel really grateful and really blessed for that.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you too. I'm a spiritual person myself, and I do think things happen for a reason. And if we just stay positive, I think we can get ahead of this. And one thing that I learned is I'm starting to communicate with people more than I was when I wasn't quarantined, because now I have the luxury of going on Zoom, having the time and just catching up with friends and family. So in a way, it's kind of a blessing where I can be more
Yeah.
connected with people.
I totally think everything is a blessing, even though in the moment sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And
Yeah.
also, acknowledging that despite being a positive person, as I consider myself to be, there's going to be moments where you're going to be like feel super helpless and feel really kind of down in the dumps, and that's okay,
Mhm.
and allow that to kind of flow through you so that it can, and then leave you so that you can then go back to being positive again, right? So
Right.
I think that that's so important too.
Yeah, I agree. And like you mentioned, Love in the Forecast is airing during this time, and it's such an uplifting, positive movie. So, what a great time for it to be airing.
Mhm.
So, let's talk about it. Like I said, this one was one of my top favorites because
Aw.
I feel like every woman can relate to your character, Leah, who plans on taking a break from dating to focus on herself, her career for a full year. What woman hasn't done that before? I have. And
Yeah.
then when that starts to happen, all these men are interested in her. So very relatable. Once you leave something behind, you don't focus on it, then it kind of comes into your path. And as they say, when it rains, it pours.
Yes.
But what I feel like with this movie, it's about finding yourself, and Leah's determined to become this meteorologist who doesn't
Mhm.
want to be just an on-camera weather girl. But with this movie, not only are the viewers going to be rooting for your romance life to come together, but also for your career. What drew you to take on this role?
Well, initially I thought the script was really fun, and I love working with Hallmark,
Yeah.
so that's always a positive. As well as getting to work with Christy Will Wolf, which directed the movie, and I'd never worked with her before, and I've heard so many incredible things about her, and I had so many friends that had worked with her that I felt like I knew her, but I didn't. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is clearly like an opportunity that has come my way. And I had actually worked with Christopher Russell, who plays Mark in the movie. I had worked with him like 4 or so years ago on a movie called A Puppy for Christmas. And
Okay.
so, but at that time, we didn't have like as many scenes together, whereas this one, we're actual love interests. So it was a really like, it was just kind of like all the pieces fell together. And, I love working in Vancouver all the time. It's the best. And I get to see all my friends and surprisingly enough, we shot this movie in February, and that is when it's rainy season in Vancouver. So you would assume, like, oh, we're shooting a movie
Yes.
about the forecast and about rain. Okay, great. Like, it's going to be raining every day. Well, let me tell you, I think it rained like 2 days. Like,
Oh
so funny.
no. Oh
So
gosh.
it's so crazy how that kind of stuff happens where you're like, of course, like Murphy's Law, when you want rain, it doesn't rain. But of course, we had to have like rain towers and stuff because
Yeah.
rain doesn't really show up on camera unless it's like really big droplets.
Yeah.
So the scenes where you see that it's raining in the movie, we are actually like being poured on. Like it was like no joke. And then, the
Yes.
costume department had to have like blow dryers on set, like blow dry our clothes so that we can do another take and all that kind of stuff. So there's so many things behind the scenes that need to happen for movies like this to come together. And I always love kind of sharing those little like tidbits because it's
I love
crazy
hearing
like how
that.
it comes together and people don't realize like all the little like behind the scenes things, which are, I know as a viewer myself, I love to
Yes.
find out about those things.
No, me too. And yeah, there's so many scenes between you and Mark where you're out in the rain and there's one where in the park and you guys are both under this umbrella together and then you put on this raincoat. So I can imagine in that particular scene, you'll have to probably get the hair dryers out, redo the makeup a little bit, touch up, and then go again.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but at the end, it's really worth it. And again, it's something I feel like a lot of movies and TV shows don't play a lot of, which is
Yeah.
rain. Like we're often like playing against the rain, where it might be raining a little bit, but we're gonna pretend like it's not raining, and like I'm getting wet, but because you can't see it on camera, like no one can really tell until your hair is soaked. So, but in this movie, we're actually like playing with the rain, so that was fun. But yeah, there's always obstacles when you're working, but it makes it all worth it in the end, and the story really comes together nicely.
Oh no, yeah, and I love how they kind of use the rain as a metaphor, like with the storm and her trying to figure out her love life with her career, and then that brings her and Mark together too, your
Mhm.
character. So I think I love how they used rain as a huge element to tell this story.
Absolutely.
Because you had to do so many hair makeup touches, usually with Hallmark, they could get stuff done in about 2 weeks to film. Were
Yeah.
you guys, was this 2 weeks as well to film
This
this movie?
and so normally the Hallmark movies are 3 weeks, so it's like
Okay.
15 shooting days. This movie was a 14-day shoot week, which is like I mean shooting days. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it definitely, if you're taking one day out of the regular schedule, that does kind of compress things a little bit. But you know what? You get used to it. Like it's like
Hmm.
us, the actors that work on Hallmark a lot. We just get used to coming really prepared to do the work, showing up, and realizing that you got to show up right away. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of really great chemistry that needs to be built, not only when the cameras are on, but behind the cameras. And so when you show up for the work, it's just there and it's ready to go. And it's hard for a lot of people to do that kind of work. I think it requires a lot of practice. And I
It
sometimes
does.
think of like soap operas where they have to work on 40 pages a day, and I'm like, oh my goodness,
I
like how
know
do
it.
I do that? But you know
I
what?
know.
It's like I always say, like people are like, how do you memorize all your lines? And I often just joke, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, but what it really is like imagine going to the gym
Yes.
and you go to the gym and you pick up like 100-pound weights. Like, I'm not gonna
Yes.
be like, la la la, no problem. Like, I'm gonna work myself 200 pounds. I'm gonna go from 10 to 15 to 20. And it's like the more you work at it, and it's all about just keeping the work and being consistent with the work, that you'll gain the skill. And so I kind of just see it that way of like, the more you memorize lines, the more you work with scripts, the easier it becomes, because it just becomes second nature, and the brain is like a muscle. It just like picks up really easily. And if the work is, if it's written really well, then your brain just absorbs the words. And with the Hallmark
Absolutely.
scripts, it usually is like that for me.
Yeah, there's not been one Hallmark movie where I turned away thinking, I don't really like this. I think the script,
Yeah.
everything is just so beautiful. So I agree with you there. And thank you for sharing that tip, because I know every actor and actress has their own method on how to memorize your lines. But it's true, it's just a muscle you have to gain. And then it, like you said,
Yeah,
it becomes second nature.
absolutely.
And I think when you can connect with the script, it's even easier because you
Yeah,
can really put yourself in your character.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And I like how you mentioned that you work with Christopher Russell, because you guys have great on-screen chemistry. There's not a moment when I wasn't watching this movie that I was not smiling. And see, my one of my favorite moments was when you guys had these cheese sticks, and then
Yeah.
you dip
Oh
it in
my
this sauce, and you like cheers with the cheese stick,
God.
and you're going on about, oh no, I don't need to date anyone right now. He's kind of fishing around, so you don't want to date someone, and you two
Yeah.
just clicked. That was one of my favorite scenes from the movie.
Sorry. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, again, it's just having fun with the material. And we were genuinely, not just as the characters, but as two people, like, we were having
Mhm.
fun with it. And one of the things I love about a lot of the directors I get to work with, and Christy is like that too, is like, sometimes you give one take with, that's just true to the script and true to your character. And then sometimes you can play around with a bit of
Yes.
improvisation, and just give it a little bit more lightness, more kind of groundedness. And sometimes they use those takes and sometimes they don't. And so for the kind of like cheese stick picnic in the living room scene, like,
Yeah.
that was one of the scenes where we were just like having a lot of fun with it. Plus, we ate about like 30 cheese sticks, like, between the two of us. And we're like, okay, I can't eat another one. But they were actually pretty good. So, no
Yeah.
complaining
Well,
here.
another thing that drew me to this movie was the food that you were eating. It was so good. You have tasty snacks. You have pretzels, cheese sticks, grapes. I was like, every scene, I was wondering, ooh, what's she going to eat this time
I
around?
know. I felt like Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11. Like, I don't know if you remember that movie, but he eats in like every single scene. And I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, there should be like some sort of like drinking game or something where like people, I don't know, cheers every time, or they like say a word every time you see
Yes.
something, because it's like truly absurd. But again, I am of the mind where I really think that if in a scene an actor is supposed to eat, I am gonna eat. I'm not gonna like pretend to eat or
Right.
just kind of play with my food. That kind of stuff, I just like, as a viewer, when I see it, I'm like, come on, just eat
Just do,
it. It just kind of
yeah.
takes me out of it. So I try to just like give her. And if that means I have to eat less at lunch because I'm gonna be eating like 5 sandwiches in the next scene, then that's just what I'm gonna do.
That's fun. No, it was believable because, yeah, literally through the movie, I made a note of that. I'm like, she's eating a lot of good stuff. I'm loving it. But throughout this movie, you had a lot of cool locations that you were filming at, with being on a farm and then being in the city. Was there a favorite scene or a favorite location that you liked the most that you can remember?
Um, I mean, I definitely loved being on the farm. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm so obsessed with animals. Like, I just loved every second of it. There was a baby lamb that was like a
Yeah,
week
that was
old.
so cute.
And then,
Yeah.
okay, so there's a scene with a baby lamb, and the character that plays Mark, Christopher Russell's father, he holds the lamb, And they
Mhm.
shot that scene, a scene that I'm not in, and they shot that scene, and I was, hanging around talking to someone, probably eating something, and I, and they were like, oh yeah, we shot a scene with the lamb, and I was like, what? Who
Ah.
got to hold the lamb? I was so upset. I was like, no, I wanted to hold the lamb. It was so exciting, but
It was cute.
oh, it was so cute, and they had like this little heat lamp for it, so it could stay nice and warm. And there was a dog that had just had puppies, so there was like 7 puppies just like running around randomly, and there were like baby cows, and it was just
Yeah.
amazing. And of course, the character Brody, which is the dog,
Yes.
who is played by the one and only Kevin. Um, he was the best and so well trained, and so any scene with him
Cute.
was just truly amazing. And anyone who was watching my Instagram stories at the time when we were shooting the movie, I was posting about Kevin all the time, and my dog voice is very annoying.
No, what a perfect co-star. I could tell that you and Broody had a good connection, and he was
Yeah,
just every time you and Mark had a scene together, especially with the cheese sticks cheering, he was just
yeah.
laying on his
He's like,
little bed right there. What a
yeah, he
great
was
dog.
so sweet and so well trained. His owner and trainer Stephanie was just she's just so cool, and um she just knows like the dog could do just about anything, and he would do anything for her. And that's the thing, right? Like when you have a really
Yes.
good trainer, the dog will do anything to please the trainer. And so that was really cool. It was just easy. Like a lot of times people say, okay, well, don't work with dogs and babies like in movies because it's just like unpredictable. But
Yeah.
I think that if you have an animal that is really well trained and a really good trainer and people that just come really prepared, it actually can be easier. And sometimes they make us actors look bad. So,
It's true because they're on target. Like we know this. We're not going to mess up. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
very cool.
Yeah, they're like, treat? Yeah, no problem. Maybe if
Yeah.
someone was holding like a cookie for me, I'd probably do that anything too.
Oh, that's funny. And then there was the scene, you had a couple scenes with cows though, like when you and Mark are first on the farm together and he's showing you around. And then
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give any spoilers away, but then you have an ending scene too. How was it with the cows? Because they were just freely running around in the background. Was there any couple of takes you had to do
I
with them?
know. Okay, so I mean, I think cows are majestic and beautiful, and they're just like dogs. Honestly, they're super curious. They're so playful, but at first, because they're such huge, animals, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this thing's coming toward me. Like, what's happening? But they were very curious. But also, if we moved anywhere like toward them, they'd kind of like, walk away or like kind of hop away, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so, we were very gentle with them, of course, but there was um, a scene or two when we had the cows like right next to us, but we're not paying attention to them in the scene. And I remember one take, one of the cows was licking my leg.
Oh
Like stay in the moment. And so I was just like, I was just staying there and like trying to focus on like remembering my lines. But meanwhile, I have this like cow licking my leg. Oh, it was so funny. And then like as soon as
no.
we yelled cut, the and another take, there was like a cow right above Chris's like shoulder, just kind of like being like, hey,
Chilling.
what's up, guys? They're just so cute. So yeah, I mean, in those moments you can't do anything but laugh. Like it's just so awesome.
Yeah, you just got to go with it.
Yeah.
And this isn't your first time working with animals on a film because in Unleashing Mr. Darcy,
Yeah.
your character Elizabeth enters a dog show and she's working 24/7 with Bliss,
Yeah.
who's the cutest dog. Would you say, was it kind of the same with Love in the Forecast with these animals? And then they had a really good trainer for Unleashing Mr. Darcy as well?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, so there's these wranglers in Vancouver that are used for a lot of movies, and
Uh-huh.
they're the same ones that I've used for Unleashing Mr. Darcy, Marrying Mr. Darcy, as well as Love in the Forecast. They're called the Woodleys. I mean, they've trained everything from ducks, cats, dogs, monkeys, bears. Like
Wow.
they're like mother nature. They're just like shut. They're like, hey, what do you need? Cool. And they're like the coolest people, and they're just like super chill. And and they, they know that you can just like touch the animal, get to know the animal, have a connection with the animal.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I love working with them. And so anytime I see their names as the wranglers on the call sheet, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I get them.
Yeah, so they're awesome. But any day I get to work with an animal is a brilliant day.
Great
Like, it's
day.
just the best day. Yeah, I just think animals are put everything at ease. They're just so in the moment and present and loving. And yeah, I honestly don't know how anyone could not love doing it. I just feel
Yeah.
blessed anytime I get to do it. I'm like, how did I find myself in this incredible situation?
Yeah, no, it is fun. And like you said, they bring it to the scene, like they add element to it. So I would love to work with animals too if I
Oh,
had to.
it's the best. Yeah.
They're the best. And then with Hallmark, you have been in so many great movies with them so far. How does the process work getting involved with Hallmark movies? Because I've interviewed talent before, and they stated once you've done a movie with Crown Media, you're considered family.
Mhm.
And when you're trying to get on with other roles, do they contact you? They feel like you would be good fit for something, or how does that process work?
Yeah. So initially, before I'd ever worked with Hallmark, I'd never, auditioned for them or anything. And then finally I started auditioning for them and
Yeah.
auditioning and auditioning. And I was just like, and I couldn't book a role to save my life. Like, I was just like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like I could really do well in the Hallmark world. But I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing the mark or something. And then eventually I booked a part playing the best friend in Lucky in Love. And
Uh-huh.
funny enough, it was right after I dyed my hair brown, because I had brown hair for like 2.5 years. And I was like, that is so funny. What are the chances? So then I played that. And then I auditioned for Cedar Cove and
Uh-huh.
booked a role of Rebecca Jennings in Cedar Cove. And I was kind of like the antagonist, like character that people love to hate. And then that's when I booked not long after Unleashing Mr. Darcy. And then of course I had blonde hair. But yeah, it was one of those things where you just never know. And it's just about finding, and I feel like this is true for all actors or anyone in
Mhm.
this industry. It's all about right place, right time, right energy. I know that with Unleashing Mr. Darcy, they had auditioned like a lot of people
Yeah.
2 weeks before I auditioned for the role. And I remember even helping one of my friends put the character of Elizabeth on tape. And then I got the audition 2 weeks later and felt like even just a little bit weird. I was like, oh, like, I don't know, like putting it on tape, like after I helped my friend, like it's always such a weird thing with your friends, but all you can be is
Yes.
like super supportive and loving. And I don't see it as a competition, because I see it as, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen for you. And everyone is
Mhm.
so unique. Like, one of my best friends is blonde hair, blue eyed, beautiful, like so talented. But her and I could not be more different. And that's because our energies
Yeah.
and our life experience and everything is just so different. And so I just think that everyone brings something different to the table. And
Yes.
so I think that Hallmark just kind of knows like what each actor is really good at and what they bring to the table. And so yeah, once you're kind of in the Hallmark world, they really love you and they take such great care of you, and they really do treat you like a family. That is 100% accurate. And I just feel really lucky that I have an opportunity now to work with them as much as I do. And usually, it's kind of like they come to me, and if things happen and it works out, then awesome. And so far, it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I've been loving all the roles you're in. So I could tell that with Hallmark, you guys have a great relationship.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, like I am there with you. It's a huge blessing when you can work with a great company.
Oh
And
my gosh, totally. And the
yeah,
fans, like that's my
oh my,
favorite part.
yes.
Hallmark is amazing. And they are amazing because their fans are amazing. Like, their fans are through and through diehard. They will follow you. Like, I've done other things that are not necessarily Hallmark, and they will support me and love me and watch me and grow with me. And then the next thing you know, they're like, okay, when's your next Hallmark movie? Like, we want to see you
Yes.
back here. And I'm like, I know, I can't wait. And so so it's one of those things where I feel so grateful to have them on my team because they truly are so loving and supportive, and that's the best kind of fan that you can ask for.
Absolutely. No, the Hallmarkies are a great fan base. So they're
Yeah,
good.
they are. They will like they've got your back. You know what I
They
mean?
do.
Like, if someone
They
comes
do.
after you, they're like, "Excuse me, what did you
You
say?"
do not mess with our Hallmarky.
Yeah.
No. uh, so I wanted to play a little game with you
Okay.
because you have started so many Hallmark movies. These are going to be one of your speaking lines, and you just have to guess which movie it's in. No
I think
pressure.
your fans will probably be better at that than me, but okay.
I don't know. I feel like you might get these. I try to make, I think you'll get these. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the first one. The entire world will be watching your every move. They'll be judging you at all times, but you can do this.
Unleashing Mr. Darcy.
Close, marrying Mr. Darcy.
Oh, darn it.
He was in the same franchise.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
you were talking to Bliss.
I just warming up.
Yeah, you're just warming up. You got this. Okay. It's fine. There will officially be no problem at your wedding. Do you understand me?
There will be officially what?
There will officially be no problem at your wedding. Do you understand me?
Oh. That sounds. Oh. Oh, that's a misleading one because is it Wedding March 5?
Yes.
Yes!
Yes. Yes.
I was like, for a second, I was like, maybe that's marrying Mr. Darcy because I could see Frances Fisher's character being like Aunt Violet, being like,
Yes, Aunt Violet.
problem here, like being very threatening. But okay, great, got it. Boom.
Yes, you got it. Yay. Okay, this one. You know what I love about you? You are always ready to eat. You always seem to have a stash of food somewhere.
I know this one. It's Love in the Forecast.
Yes, that scene between you and Mark and you guys go fishing.
Yeah, that's right. Love it.
Love it. Okay, last one.
Okay.
Of course you have vacation homes, probably Hawaii or Europe. Do you ever get confused about where you are when you wake up?
That is Unleashing Mr. Darcy.
Yes, it is.
All right, not bad. 3 out of 4.
You did great. You did great. I will still give you the first one because it was part of Mr. Darcy.
I should do better.
No, you did great. So
Awesome.
that was our little game. And yeah, with that scene with you and Ryan, you guys are phenomenal too. You guys also have great on-screen chemistry.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that just came about, and I think Ryan, that was his first Hallmark movie like as a lead, and that was my first Hallmark movie as a lead, and everyone in Unleashing Mr. Darcy has now been in like so many Hallmark movies, Tammy Gillis, and like it's just one of those things that just everything fell into place. The story was amazing, the characters are amazing, and everyone loves Pride and Prejudice, so that whole storyline is just so beloved, and I'm beyond grateful that people who love Pride and Prejudice also loved our version of that through Unleashing Mr. Darcy. And I just think the chemistry of the entire cast, and like we had so much fun shooting that first movie. Like we were playing games all the time. I'm pretty sure there wasn't a moment where we weren't always together, like especially when we shot in that big mansion.
Yes, yeah.
And so our like green room was in the basement, and we would play games and eat lunch there, and just like spend so much time together. And you think a lot of us would just get like annoyed with each other after a while, but we didn't. And I think that when that happens, when people like legitimately bond together, it just shows up on camera, and people wanted more. And surprisingly, we got a second one because
you guys got a second one.
That
was
initially in the plans, and because the fans asked for it, they received it, and that really just shows how much the Hallmark loyalty matters, and what they want to see, because at the end of the day, they're the ones watching it, And so we're making movies for the Hallmark fans.
Yeah. I was watching Unleashing Mr. Darcy last night, and then I saw Marrying Mr. Darcy. It's like, we need a third one, maybe with trying to raise a child, and then
Yeah,
Aunt Violet still trying to scheme a little bit, trying to raise the child this way.
yeah,
So
I
we
know.
could
There's
still
so many
continue.
different ways of it going down, and who knows? I am definitely, people have asked me so many times, and I am so down to do another one, but it's just a matter of timing and people's schedules coming together, and then Hallmark saying yes to it. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed that
Fingers
happens.
crossed.
But it's never, you just never know.
That is so true, especially in this industry. You never know what can happen.
Right, yep,
But
totally.
I want to say congratulations to your 14 Leo nominations for Web of Dreams,
Thank
where
you.
you are playing the role of Jillian.
Yeah.
And you mentioned on Instagram that this was a life-changing experience and this movie was a passion project. Why was that?
um it was just something completely different that I had never done, to play the role of Jillian in Web of Dreams, and to be part of such a loved series of books by BC
Hmm.
Andrews. And just the story itself, I just felt was so of the age now. There's just so much, just the subject matter is a bit difficult to watch, but it's very of the times nowadays, I think, of women owning their power and kind of speaking up. And the movie I was in was in the 1950s, and to play such an extravagant lifestyle, and but also I think sometimes at the surface people let the world see them in a certain way, when
Yeah.
under it all there's so much turmoil and so much going on. And I think it's easy for people to judge what they see, but really there's
Hmm.
a reason why everything happens in this world, why people behave the way they do. And I feel really passionate about exploring why certain people behave a certain way, why they manipulate, why they control, why they sabotage, why they do evil things, why they do great things. Like all of those
Yeah.
things I think are so important. And at the end of the day, it's about the audience and how they receive the message. I can play it a certain way, and that's like that in any story, but I could play something a certain way, and you might take it in another way, or
Hmm.
that guy over there might take it in another way. So it's all about your own filters and how you perceive things. And so I just love playing with story where I get to do that. And I just really felt that way about Jillian and about the story of Web of Dreams. Even though it was a very difficult subject matter, I think it was important to explore. And
Hmm.
as an actor, it's about storytelling, and just like Love in the Forecast, I just loved exploring the idea of playing a character who is kind of down on her luck on love and decides to focus on herself. And I think that, again,
Right.
that's the owning of the power of being like, you know what, I'm going to do something for myself. Because I think the moment we truly take our power, we do something for ourselves, we self-love, self-soothe,
Yes. Yes.
then we are going to receive what we put out there. And I think that that's like the beautiful message in Love in the Forecast, is that when you start to focus on yourself and start to put you first, you will then attract someone who will just complement everything you're trying to do anyway. And that's the beautiful story of Leah and Mark in Love in the Forecast, is that they find each other at a perfect moment when they least
Hmm.
expected it. And it's not about taking a year off. When you're meant to be with someone, you're going to find a way to come together and make it
Absolutely.
happen. And just trust in that. And like I said before, surrendering to what is meant to be, and not, resist something that's meant for you.
Yes.
And I just so I don't know. I'm such a sucker for love. I love
Me
it. And
too.
who is it, right? Love feels so good, and heartbreak feels so horrible, but at the same time, each heartbreak leads to even greater love and greater passion,
Yes.
and more understanding, because you understand what it is that you want more of. And Yeah, I feel really strongly about the relationship in Love in the Forecast. It feels really
Me
mature.
too.
It feels really strong, and yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, and you nailed it perfectly. Trust the process, trust the journey, just go
Yeah,
with it. Don't force things.
yeah,
And that's what we definitely get to see with Leah, where she said, I'm going to focus on myself. I want to better myself. But Mark is meant, you'll see, but they're meant to happen. And
yeah.
she doesn't try to force that situation. Neither does Mark. And that's what I like about his character too, is he doesn't try
You
to
know, and that's
do
the
it.
beautiful thing about Christopher Russell and the character he portrayed is he's such a respectful, loving man, and he
Mm-hmm.
portrays such a like a gentle soul in the movie. And when you look at him, you're like, oh my gosh, this like handsome big man, and fit and all that. But it's amazing how again like the external versus the internal, like there's so much more to people than what you
Mm-hmm.
just see right out of the gates. So I'm excited for people to see his performance. I think he's so awesome in this movie.
Yeah, yeah, you both are. So it's a great movie. You guys need to check it out June 13th. Quickly before we go, do you
Yeah.
have any other projects that are coming up with the Hallmark Channel?
I do. I have another movie, I believe, coming out at the end of the summer, but I'm not really
We're
sure
not
details, so I'm not gonna
okay.
deliver any news right now in regards to that. But as everyone knows, anytime I get any news about anything, I always share on my Instagram and Twitter. And honestly, sometimes I find out from some of the Hallmark fans, like they'll message me and they'll be like, "Hey, congratulations on your movie! It's coming out like June 13th," and I'm like, "Oh, awesome!" Like I
Yay.
it would be coming out, but I didn't know the date or whatever. So sometimes they're just like so excited about what's gonna happen
Yes.
to you that they just look into it even more than you do. And obviously I'm not like searching myself on the internet every day. So it's nice to know that they are my support system as well, and I've told a few people, I'm like, do you want to be my publicist? Because like I but yeah,
You got it all down.
definitely stay tuned. There's a few projects that I've completed and will be coming out at some point, hopefully soon. But grateful to have completed some projects before all of this happened because,
Yes.
clearly a lot of things have slowed down, but I'm excited to get back to work and for Hallmark to get back out there with, all safety measures, of course.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's an exciting time for everyone to connect with each other, to connect over, games, music, TV
Right.
shows, movies, and don't forget to do that with each other. And I think that Love in the Forecast will be the perfect movie for people to kind of come together. Dogs, children, parents,
You
uncles,
have it all.
grandparents, whatever.
Yes, no, it's definitely a great movie to check out. You guys be sure it's June 13th. It's premiering. I'm excited for it. And then, Cindy, where can they find you on social media so they can keep up with your new projects that are going to be happening later down the road?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Twitter, same handle. It's at Cindy_Busby. And on Instagram and Twitter, I got the little blue check mark. So if you want to make sure that you got the right one. And I also have a Facebook fan page and I also have a website, www.cindybusby.com. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I feel like, so many people know how to find people on social media. I'm
Right.
probably like, the old person who's like, I don't know how this works. Like people are on TikTok now, and I'm like, I can't,
Oh,
I can't keep up with
gosh.
everything, people.
Neither can I. Those TikTok dances, my gosh, I attempted one. I couldn't post it because it'd just be too embarrassing for myself.
Yeah,
But
maybe I'll bring back the backstage backs dance. Maybe I'll do that.
there
That's
you go.
up my alley.
We could try to figure that out. Okay, but make sure you guys are following Sydney, and then you could find me on Instagram at Chelsea Overrocker and on Twitter at Chelsea Overrocker. Thank you, Cindy, so much for joining
Thank you
me
so much,
today.
everyone.
Yes, can't wait to check out the movie.
Yes, thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV.
Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.